So I was thinking about this hard yesterday. I had a few beers in me, and just sat down. It was just kind of just going, right? And so we'll get into the article about Xbox, but the way I thought about it was, and I'm going to use Xbox as an example. If they decided to just go go hard to Game Pass, which they kind of are, they're saying little things to keep people from exiting in droves. Like, they don't want to say, oh, we're getting rid of our home consoles. People will leave. And getting rid of our exclusive strategy, people will just be like, you know what, I don't know why I invested all this time. Anyway, I think that is the way that they're going to go. They might have a few home consoles circulating out there, but I don't think there's going to be their main. I think as far as hardware, they're going to go to handhelds because the overhead's much lower, and people like being mobile. It's what came to mind was, we don't have home phones anymore. We have cell phones. People like being able to take their games and their information, all that good stuff, with them on the go, right? So I think if they do have hardware, it's going to be handheld focus, and I think they're going to go straight to Game Pass, and I think they're going to get rid of exclusive. As much as Xbox fans don't want to face that fact, I think they will do away with exclusives altogether. But I think they're going to be on the cutting edge of that, because Sony's slowly picking up that same model. Nintendo, I think they're going to have to too, because there is 150 million Switches out there right now. We're going to have to see what the Switch 2 does. I doubt it will reach those numbers. However, we'll have to see. What happens with that. But I think exclusives are going to hold them back from making as much money as they possibly can. I think that's my thought process on it all. But we've got the statement from Xbox announcing their partnership with Amazon. So over the past several years, we have been on a journey to deliver cloud gaming to more devices and to more people around the globe, McKissick writes in the news post. We're excited to add Fire TV to our growing family of cloud gaming devices and eager to welcome new players into the experience. Now, we did touch on this a lot, but for this particular news, for this article, what do you think is going to change about Xbox's strategy? So I already, made my thoughts on it known. I think ultimately they're going to open up fully, and their consoles are going to not completely disappear, but I think they're going to go with something more portable, i.e. a handheld, and focus more on Game Pass, which they kind of already are doing. But I think that's going to be the bulk of their business model going forward. But what do you guys think about this news? And again, how do you think it'll change the strategy of Xbox?
I like the idea that they're partnering with Amazon.
Yeah.
I go back and forth between whether or not I feel like Amazon is evil. But I've always kind of loved Amazon, especially because I don't have to go anywhere for it.
Right.
But
that's fair.
I remember Phil Spencer. I don't know when, where, who reported it, but he did say, probably, I think it was like right before X and S launched, that if they weren't successful, they were going to get out of the console business.
Okay.
And I think that they started like putting their toes in the water with the Xbox exclusive announcement. They saw the reaction, so they started kind of walking it back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You've got to... I don't do change very well. You're probably going to get a lot of fighting, and I might even throw a fit. You never know how I'm going to react to change. But if you introduce the ideas to me and like go over it with me and give me time to form an opinion, time to think it through, instead of just being like, you have to do this right now, then I'm going to be more receptive to it. So I think what Xbox is doing right now, please don't walk up. Okay, just walk. Merlin. Anyway, I think that's what they're doing. They're being like, okay, well, we're going to give exclusives, but listen, they've been out for a while, and we're not going to give all our exclusives away,
right?
But we're going to share a little bit because we're about the gamers.
Yeah.
And then later, like, it's going to be, and that calmed everybody down, especially like everybody from Xbox. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, we're going to start doing this. And it could be like we were talking about, like, hey, why don't you open up your exclusives after like 6 months to a year?
Yeah.
And not just Xbox, but PlayStation. Why don't you guys do that? Do you know how much more money you would get if you would do that? It doesn't mean you're going to lose console sales, because we're still going to choose what we choose, and I think that Xbox is slowly going to walk it back and get out of the console business, like Phil said, because I don't think that they're as successful as I wish they could be. Like, we talked about how the original Xbox, it was zero profit. It was actually, Bill Gates lost money on that.
Yeah.
But he was so determined to make money that he continued. He didn't quit. He came out with 360. The rest is not on him, but they just could never, Xbox is selling probably one for every 4 or 5 PlayStation is selling.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, but you've got a lot of brand loyalty with Xbox, and you've got a lot of great exclusives that keep Xbox humming. And then you've got gamers that have both consoles in their house, but then you've got gamers that just can't afford that. So we just have to pick what we can.
Part of that loyalty, though, is predicated on the actual physical console itself. If you take that away, how much of that loyalty are you losing?
I agree.
We talked about this before. Like, I'm not sure. I would love to see, I mean, if it crumbles Xbox, I don't want to see it, but I would love to see what that would look like. How many people would walk away if they just completely did away with their consoles? That would be crazy.
I guarantee you a lot would, but I think that they would come back in time.
The formal announcement of them getting out of the console market will happen far, far, far after everybody else is already aware that they're going to.
Yes.
That'll be the last thing they say about it.
Right on.
Exactly. I think that's why I think they're dipping their toes in and starting to test the waters and get people thinking about it and used to it before anything happens. But
you know what? It's exactly right. I think that's what's going on. It's like, well, you don't need a console because you can play it on Amazon Fire Stick, you can play it on Roku, you can play it on your mobile phone, you can play it on iOS, you can play it on this theoretical mobile Xbox console.
Or think about it. So first we had the Fire Stick, right? And now we have the Fire TV or the Fire Cube, right? They're bigger. They have more capabilities. Think about what this partnership is going to do. How much do you think that Xbox and Amazon's partnership will eventually lead them to coming up with another device that combines the two worlds together? And then there's no console, but now there's a new Amazon Xbox device.
Combining Prime and Game Pass?
Kind of, but it would be like, so like how we used to have Apple TV. We don't really have that anymore because smart TVs kind of ruined it. But it would be like a device kind of like the Apple TV, but it would be like an Amazon Xbox device. You could play games on the Apple TV, but it was the mobile games, specific mobile games, or the arcade games and stuff like that.
Well, that was dependent on the actual hardware processing the game, right?
Correct.
Not so much the bandwidth, like your internet connection.
Correct. But combine your internet, combine Amazon's like Fire Stick with like the cloud gaming and something that Microsoft could come up with, because primarily Xbox and Microsoft were always software more than hardware. So they team up with other people to develop with this hardware, and they're more computer based than PlayStation.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something though. To what extent do you think that Amazon could become a competitor to Microsoft?
I think that's why they teamed up.
I don't know. It with their business are kind of different. I know Microsoft is in the the programming and gaming. In Amazon, they do deliveries. They tried to step into the gaming a little bit. And
don't forget about AWS as well. That's huge for Amazon. And Microsoft has their own competitor with Azure Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but
so they're already competitors in some spaces.
I will tell you, AWS is better than Azure, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I worked with the two, I would rather have a virtual environment paying Amazon's prices and having the support and I can do everything on AWS remotely that I could do on Azure and more and cheaper. So that's why I went that way. But I had a Windows server in school and everything like that. But you got to remember, Amazon could be a competitor, but they've already tried to launch their own little device for gaming, and it bombed. And so now they don't have their device; they have the Luna service, the Luna platform now.
Mm-hmm.
So they already lost out on the gaming.
I don't know.
As far as the console goes, I think what they're gearing towards is trying to work with Microsoft to bring something hardware based and software based
that will bolster that. That will bolster their gaming side.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I hear what you're saying. At the same time, though, I wouldn't rule out that they may become a competitor at some point and have their own exclusives for Amazon Prime Gaming.
At some point. But at this point, they've already failed. So they need to do something to bring it back up and make it better. But they also don't develop anything themselves yet.
Maybe they can just watch how Microsoft does it and copy their notes.
Wouldn't that be the smart thing to do?
Well, I mean,
it's kind of like, it's kind of like finding a master and you're the apprentice.
The rule of two.